Good morning and welcome to tutorial 3 for personal development in the workplace. I'm just looking to see who else is here. Salt River, are you there? And the other CLCs, I will obviously spot you when you come online. But I'm just going to go ahead in the meanwhile and talk about what we're going to cover in this tutorial. So this is tutorial 3, and you will see from the invitation to it that what I wanted to do was spend some time checking with you how things are going with regard to 2 elements of work. The first being the continued development of your personal development plan, your PDP, and then the second being checking in with you about the particular reading assignment for this unit. Unit 3 is about leadership, and what we wanted to do specifically is focus on the 2 books that speak on the subject of leadership, namely Bill Hybels, called Courageous Leadership, and Jeremy Kubicek, who wrote a book called Leadership is Dead, and how influence is reviving it. And so we're going to just check in on those 2, and I want to ask you to talk about some of your findings from those books as you read them. Some of you may not have got to read all of the prescribed work yet, and so this will be just a bit of a guide for you to do that and establish some kind of plan for understanding and then responding. I'll say just up front that the assignment for this unit, which is due on the 21st of this month, so that's next Thursday or Friday, asks you to talk about the interface or the connection between what Hybels and Kubicek talk about and what we saw in the previous unit, which is about Stephen Covey, and particularly the area of caring for yourself or managing yourself. So we talked about the concept of self-management or self-leadership. I see Salt River there. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Salt River. Can you hear me? Wave a hand if you can hear. There we are. Okay. So Salt River is with us, and I'm going to ask you, as from before, if you will just interrupt at any point with either questions or comments. Can you hear me now? Good. Okay. So I'll come back to discussing what is going to be looked for in the assignment in a moment. But so far, can I just get back to you guys and ask you, how are you finding the process or progress with your PDPs? Sound is off. Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good, thank you. All right, so with regard to the PDPs, doing some dreaming, talking about where you are now, and then specifically starting to get to setting goals for each of the areas of your lives. Are you making progress? Do you find that something that you're getting better at as you use that muscle?
I'm progressing so far. busy with the PDP. I just want to know how are we going to submit it to you?
Oh, how? Okay. You don't need to submit anything now yet. So what I want you to be doing is, as you're finding things and as things are becoming clearer to you, to just engage in conversations on the forum about that. So anything where you find that maybe it's helped you, or any area where you're struggling, use the forum as a place for us to have a conversation. But you don't have to submit anything yet. Only toward the second half of the module will we ask you to submit stuff either by as a Word document which you can save and email, or as a fax. You can fax me a copy, or scan the document and fax it, and then email it to me. Okay?
Thank you very much, sir.
Good. Anyone else have any questions or anything that's confusing about the PDP, or are you making good progress?
That's all, sir.
Everyone's cool. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to continue then just talking about the readings for this this next unit. How many of you have been able to do any of the reading yet? I know that this was all only downloaded a week ago, so I just wanted to check. How are you progressing? There is no correct answer to this question. I'm just wanting to find out what's actually happening. Have any of you got the reading stuff from the resources tab on Frunda? The two books, Bill Hybels and Jeremy Kubicek. So this is Jeremy Kubicek, Making Your Leadership Come Alive, and this is Hybels, and it's called Courageous Leadership. Have you visited the resources page tab yet?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, and have you downloaded the books?
I read through the Courageous Leadership one. I didn't go through it in detail because we have lots of work to do now. So I thought to myself, maybe over the next few days I'll go into depth more and read it and reflect. But right now we're very slow. So I personally am just trying to work on the most important tasks. And then after that, then
okay, that's fine. So we'll be going a little bit ahead of you then in terms of what we talk about in the next 40 minutes, because what I want to do is just I'm going to be giving you some things to look for in regard to these two segments of the notes. Just again to say to all of you, this is not a lot of reading. Okay, it's only, you mustn't be scared of the fact that there are things to read, because you can probably read through these two pieces of prescribed text in an hour or half an hour, depending on how fast you read. So don't be afraid to go there. Go and have a look at it, and then think about what these two authors are saying on the subject of leadership. What I want to do here today is just show you why it is necessary for us to have a unit that talks about leadership in a course on personal development. And it's really interfacing the two questions, the one being who I am as a person, and what my, the level of my self-development is, my personal development is, and the second thing, which is the issue of being in the workplace. Now, you'll remember from the PDP, when I talk about the wheel of life, one of the spokes on that wheel is your career or your working life. Another one is family. And then there would be a third one, which would be your spiritual life, and which would obviously include something like your church community or involvement in any way in a circle of people that you relate to with regard to your spirituality. So I want you to understand that the truth of the matter is, first of all of us have a calling to take charge of ourselves, to lead ourselves. We're going to refer to a text in a moment when I go through a PowerPoint with you that says, "He who rules his own spirit is stronger than he who keeps the city." So everything starts with self-leadership. Everything in life, whether it's being a parent of children or whether it's being a person in an office, even if you're just an employee in an office, the fact is that you need to take charge of yourself. You need to be self-focused, self-managed with regard to how you do your work. Beyond that, all of you are in this program, you're studying this course because probably you have more than that about you. You have a capacity for leadership that goes beyond just being a parent of children and a person in a workplace. But you probably you're studying because you want to go further than that. So this is a vital aspect of everything that is going to follow for the rest of your life. Okay. What is going on?
Her laptop is dead. She's trying to find the charger.
Okay, your laptop is dying. Okay. All right, so do you see the connection here then between self-management, which is part of the second unit, and where you're going to, which is the application of all of this to the workplace? Can you see the link?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The two authors that we have referenced in this unit speak about the same subject. They speak about this thing of self-management in the following ways. Now, Bill Hybels, by the way, obviously writes from a perspective of being a churchman. He's a church leader. He's a leader of one of the biggest churches in the world, and so, or in the US anyway. And so he will be using a lot of illustrations or examples that come from the life of a church leader. But you must, when you read him, obviously apply the principles to the environment in which you work and in which you are going to work. And so just apply the thing across the various contexts. But here is what Hybels says concerning the issue that we're talking about. In chapter 9, which is the second part of the readings taken from his book, he in fact calls the chapter The Art of Self-Leadership. And so he uses the example of David, and in the course of doing that, he says this, he says, David understood the importance of self-leadership. He then he quotes from a couple of authors. One of them is a man called D. Hock. That's not really vital to our discussion, but this is the quotation from Hock. He says, "It is management of self that should occupy 50% of our time and the best of our ability." He's talking about the difference between leading yourself, leading people over you, leading people under you, and leading people laterally, your peers, in other words. And he says, the main job of you as a person for the rest of your life and a leader in a work environment is to manage yourself. The second author he quotes, we have spent quite a bit of time discussing, in fact, last year when we did this course, but we're not going to be reading him as a separate author, although I want to recommend, if any of you are interested in this subject of self-leadership, that you look for an author called Daniel Goleman, Goleman. It is in the recommended books in the module outline, so you can find the details about it there. But this author, Daniel Goleman, has written a very important book called Emotional Intelligence. Emotional Intelligence. And essentially, he talks about emotional intelligence being two things. Number one, emotional self-control, controlling your own emotions and the way you respond to them. And the second thing being empathy, or being able to feel into the emotions of others, especially people in your family, but also people in the workplace where you work. Do you guys remember in the conversation we had about the book by Stephen Covey, and most of you referred to this in the written assignments that you submitted, that he talks about three things. First of all, dependence, then second of all, independence, and third of all, interdependence. Do you remember those three things? And in talking about those three things, he points out the fact that when you are engaging with other people, whether it's again in a workplace or in any social relationship that you have, we need to recognize, before we can lead anything, we need to recognize that we are interdependent. You have to move through those three stages. You've got to go from dependence to independence before you can be interdependent. But emotional intelligence is really saying the same thing. Empathy is a way of saying we are all interconnected. In the last chapter of my book, Learn to Love Yourself, the chapter title is No Man is an Island. And that it basically says the same thing, that we have to extend ourselves, we have to go beyond our own self-interest if we're ever going to make a difference in the world. Leadership is making a difference in the lives of others. And so that's why this aspect of self-management and connecting it with emotional intelligence is a vital thing that all of us have to do. So that's the main aspect, or the departure point of what Hybels has to say. And in the definition, and I want you to look for this, and you'll get extra marks if you mention this in your little essays that you're going to submit. I want you to see the link between what Hybels calls 360-degree leadership. 360 degree. 360 degrees is a circle, right? 360 degrees is a complete circle. So he talks about 360-degree leadership, and that means what he's talking about is the whole person is involved in leadership. So here's another little hint for those of you who are listening and part of this tutorial. A circle is the same as a wheel. A wheel of life, 360-degree leadership, you'll see the link between the two things. Once again, if you want to be a complete leader out there, you first have to make sure that your wheel is round and balanced and making progress, that it's a growing wheel of that is taking over your own circle. Do you remember? Here's another phrase. Here's another phrase from Stephen Covey. Your circle of, remember two things. Your circle of influence. Your circle of influence, your circle of authority. And so your circle of influence has to do with the people and the situations over which you have some power, some ability to change. And so your circle of influence out there is going to depend on how well you have developed your own wheel of life. Okay, I need to hurry on. So the second aspect of leadership that you'll see in these books, and not only Hybels but also Kubitschek talks about them, is the different styles. Hybels talks about 10 styles of leadership. Again, that's not going to be the major focus of this tutorial, but I want you to begin thinking about that. Because the fact is, not everyone leads in the same way. But what I want you to look for is what are the common denominators of leadership. And so those things I want you to be focused on. So I'm going to now take you through a PowerPoint. Is that coming up on your screens now? I want the PowerPoint to be on screen. How do I do that? Thank you, thank you, thank you. The problem with being an old guy in a new environment is that I don't understand the technology. Okay, just while she's coming to help me, just to mention this other thing, Kubitschek also talks about influence. The main point that he makes in his book called Making Your Leadership Come Alive, you'll see the subtitle is 7 Actions to Increase Your Influence. His main point is that leadership is all about influence. And that, by the way, is something other people have said before him. Okay, I've got it on as a slideshow, but now you must show me how to put it so that they can see it. Oh, screen share, that's right. PowerPoint slideshow, there you go. Okay, can you see that now? Instead of my ugly face, can you see a blank screen with a little arrow on the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I want to go through this quickly, this is the one of the questions that I posed in preparation for this tutorial is: do you see a common denominators in understanding leadership between these two authors? So watch and listen for this, and I will obviously put it permanently up on the Funda site, so you can download and get it afterwards. But I want you to watch this with me. How do we define leadership? Leadership has been defined by lots of authors over many years in many different contexts. So I've selected a few definitions that I want to share with you. Leadership grows, this is the first one, leadership grows from the character and example expressed through the leader, creating influence through an imitatable life. Imitatable life, a life worthy of imitation. In other words, leadership in this definition is by example. The second definition is from a man called John Wimber, and it says this: leadership is a gift given by those led to a person leading them as a result of or in response to servanthood or benefit received from the leader. Now, this is a key concept. The person, in order to develop your influence with other people, the way that we are supposed to do that is by benefiting them, by serving them. This is something that, by the way, is an echo of something Jesus says to his leaders in the Gospels, and it's in Matthew chapter 20, verse 28, where he says, "He that would be great among you, the greatest among you, should be what? The servant of all." If you want to go up, in other words, you've got to go down. You've got to go down in serving and you will gain influence in other people's lives. Now, a key thing to remember here is we don't serve in order to gain authority. We serve because it's the right thing to do. But as a result, you will inevitably increase your influence in people's lives. Leadership, thirdly, is the art of influencing people. Leadership is the art of influencing people toward goals, which, though identified and verbalized by the leader, are resultantly perceived, owned, and pursued by those led as their own. Now that's a little lengthy as a definition, but I want you to keep the key points in mind. Once again, you'll see the word influence there. The second thing that is unique in this definition is that it talks about goals. Once again, and so we go back to everything that we've been doing up to now, goal setting. To set goals and lead other and give those goals, inspire those goals in other people is what it means to lead them. But you only really lead them when they perceive, when they own, and when they then pursue those goals as though they were their own. Okay? You may remember a line from a book, from a movie called My Big Fat Greek Wedding. How many of you saw My Big Fat Greek Wedding, that movie? Have you seen it? No, you haven't. Okay. The Greek wife in the movie says, "My husband is the head of the home, but I, as the wife, am the neck that turns the head this way and that way." So what she is telling us is she is the real leader, because although he might have all the ideas, she's the one who applies them and pursues them. So, 3 words that I want you to think about here. The first is life quality. We'll come back to these in a moment. The second one is servanthood. And the third one is benefit. In fact, there's more than 3 words. There are 5 words here. Benefit, influence, and envisioning. In other words, causing people to be inspired by vision and to lay hold of that vision as their own. Life quality, servanthood, benefit, influence, and envisioning. Okay? That's from the first 3 definitions. I'm moving on to the second page of definitions. The difference between management and leadership is visionary momentum. Thus, we could say that the nature of leadership is vision. The nature of leadership is vision. Leadership, said a guy called Tony Manning, is a journey of discovery. It is both a journey in search of yourself and a journey in which you help others search for their essence and possibilities. Their essence and possibilities. And the number 6 definition here, to be a leader means having the opportunity to make a meaningful difference in the lives of those who permit you or other leaders to lead. Having the opportunity to make a meaningful difference in the lives of those you lead. Okay? So some more one-word common denominators here. Envisioning, there's that word again. We did find it in the previous one. Momentum. In other words, leadership takes people somewhere. There's journey involved. There's direction and momentum involved. Potentiality. Tony Manning's use here, he says, it helps people search for their essence and possibilities. A true leader is not someone who reaches his own potential or her own potential. A true leader is someone who helps others find and reach their full potential. You get that? Then the next word here, it's under 1.6, is relationality. By relationality, I'm actually referring in an oblique way to empathy again. Love for others and wanting them to grow and change and make a meaningful difference in their lives, relationality. So that's Max Dupree's definition. The final page of definitions here. Leadership, said Rudolph Giuliani. Giuliani was the mayor of New York at the time of 9/11 and wrote a wonderful book on leadership. But here is what he says. Leadership is getting people to do what they have to do. Getting people to do what they have to do. The way you get them to do that is the big question. But that's the outcome that the leader looks for. Leadership is the capacity vested in a person to motivate, mobilize, and maintain committed action toward a goal or destiny for the people led. So goal or destiny is a very key concept of what leaders are involved in. Now, we come to a final thing in the definitions here, and this is what Hybels and Kubitschek both refer to. Style is the way a leader carries out his or her functions and how he or she is perceived by those being led. In the New Testament, it talks about different ministry gifts. And so you have apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers. You have administrators. You have carers or shepherds. So lots of different ways in which people express themselves regarding a ministry. Leadership is the common denominator to them all, but the way they do it is what you see coming at you as a ministry gift or a style. So, one word, common denominators again. The first one is implementing. Leaders are able to get the implementation of vision into practical results, practices and results. Destiny is another key word as a common denominator in leaders. Leaders are always looking to the future. They're looking to the end. Do you remember Stephen Covey? Start with the end in mind. And leaders are people who see the end before the beginning and lead people towards that. And so style is just the different ways that you dress it up. Okay? All right, so all of this comes down to what I call the leadership production line. There's a text in the New Testament, 2 Peter chapter 1, 5-8, where Peter says, now that you're a believer, add to your faith goodness. Add to your goodness knowledge. Add to your knowledge self-control. And he goes on with a whole list of things. He says, when you do all these things, it will keep you from being ineffective and unproductive. In other words, while what God does for you may be a gift that comes through faith, once that gift is in you, you are responsible for developing it. So I just say that as a precursor to thinking about what do you have to do in order to develop the gift of leadership or the capacity to lead others inside you. So here is my way of spelling the word leadership. L stands for life quality. You will see all of these are the common denominators we saw in those definitions. So life quality is another word for character. Leadership starts with character. It starts with a person who can be an example to others, who can lead by walking in a direction and saying, follow me as I follow Christ. Follow me as I follow my own value set. Don't do what I say, but do what I do. Life quality. The second one is envisioning. Leadership continues by having the ability to inspire vision in other people. Inspire a commitment to a vision in those people. The letter A stands for attraction. A leader is a person, I said earlier, of imitatable, who lives an imitatable life. And there is attractiveness because when people follow that leader, they get benefit from it. It actually changes them, it grows them, it blesses them, it does them good. And so that's what we mean by attraction. The D stands for dividend, which is another way of saying the same thing. Dividend or benefit is what comes out from the commitment and following of a particular leader. The second E stands for empowering. Leaders are not only people who can do stuff, leaders are people who can get others or give away the ability to do stuff. Inspire and help people find their gift. R stands for relationality or empathy. So leaders have to be, a leader has to be a people person. You can't say you're a leader if all your life you want to avoid other people. So leaders are people who care and who have a connection, hospitality, an open heart to others. S stands for servanthood. And that's right in the core and the center of it all. H stands for hustle. That's just a manipulated word I found to speak about momentum. Okay, hustle means having a going places mentality, wanting to go somewhere. And so leaders are people who take people on a journey in a direction with momentum. I stands for implementing. So leaders are not just people who articulate vision, who dream a dream, but people who can actually put tools in the hands of people in order to carry out the tasks that have to be done to get there. And then finally, P stands for potentiality, living out the potential of other people and ultimately living that out to a thing we call destiny. So that's the exclamation point on the word. Okay, I'm going to rush ahead just to finish the last bit of this presentation, and we are going to stop in 2 slides from now, and then I want you to, if you have any questions, to raise them. Another book that I have found extremely helpful is the book by it's another author that is referenced in the module outline, and it's called I don't remember. It'll come to me in a moment. But the author of this book speaks about 5 levels of leadership. I will remember the name of the book in a moment. 5 levels of leadership. And so he says the level 1 leader is a person who is a highly capable individual. He's someone who, when people see him or her doing their work, they say, this person really knows what they're doing. And they will follow you to a certain extent because of that. The second is a contributing team member. This is the second level of leadership. A contributing team member. A person who adds value to the team with whom he or she is working. The third level of leadership is the competent manager. This is the person who not only adds value to the team, but who can lead the team, can coordinate the team, can manage what goes on and the outcomes from that team. The fourth level is what he calls the effective leader, a person who gets results, who delivers on his promises, who can make things happen. And then finally, he calls the level 5 leader the executive or the self-actualizing leader. And this is how he defines that executive, and I want you to see this. He says the executive or the level 5 leader is a person who has a mixture of personal humility and professional will. This is a leader who is not self-important, but who recognizes that his or her achievements and gifts and what have you, talents, are a gift. They're just that. They're gifts. They're not things that he or she has earned. That when people follow them, that's paying them a compliment. But they also have a fierce will to actually achieve something, a professional will. They are self-effacing at the same time as being fiercely ambitious. They are modest at the same time as being willful. They are humble at the same time as being fearless. So that is, once again, the overall drive or gift or character of a leader. And once again, I want to just say to you that I believe that character is the beginning point or the basis of leadership, but vision is the nature or the essence of it. Character is something that allows you to recognize that my whole life is a gift, that my whole life is a calling, that where I am in the workplace is not by accident, but it's all part of a plan for my life to develop me and to allow me to interface with other people. We'll talk about this in the next unit, which is coming up. But the way that I lead, or the way that anyone leads, is by casting vision and by calling and inviting others into that vision. So vision is the nature or the essence of leadership. Okay, and it's vision that operates on the basis of serving the well-being of others. When Jesus first called his disciples, he said this, he said, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Okay, so there are three things there. He says, first of all, you need to follow. You need to be a follower, and then allow me to make you, to develop you, to grow you. The outcome of that is that you are going to lead others into a meaningful existence. To be a fisher of men means to invite people into meaningful living. To put it a different way, God first does stuff to you, he then does it in you, and then he can do it through you. That is the progress, the process through which all of us must go. And so, in being part of this module, what you guys are really saying is that you're up for it. You're up for a process that is going to develop you, but not for yourself. To develop you so that you can make a difference in the lives of other people. Is that a fair deal?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to post the where am I? Okay. I'm going to close screen share now. Is that what I must do?
Yes.
There we go. Gee, I'm smart, eh? You can see how smart I've become in 15 minutes. Okay, I will post this PowerPoint on Funda, so you can take it, download it, and then go through it at your leisure. And we will. And by the way, the PowerPoint has two aspects. I haven't got to the second aspect now, but you can go through that by yourselves if you want. What I will do, in fact, is I'm going to post the PowerPoint with voiceover for the next unit. Okay, any questions or comments coming out of what we've just talked about?
No, sir, we're fine. Thank you.
You're fine. You need to get on to your next subject, do you? Are you guys finding that you're carrying too much of a load? Is it hard to get through everything for all the subjects you're registered for?
I think we're fine at times, but then you have those moments where it gets too much.
Yeah.
But in general, I think we're okay, I guess. Yeah, we're fine for now. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. All right, so let me end this by talking about your assignment for this unit. Okay, I need another 1,000 pager from you, which is the subject. This is how it's stated on the on Funda. And I want to try and actually lighten your load in doing this, but so you guys are getting the good news first. So it goes like this. What I said in the assignment is download the assigned portions of the two books, book by Hybels and Kubitschek, and read them, looking for common denominators or common principles of leadership you see there. Okay, and I gave you a hint. I said, look for words like influence, vision, character, etc. These are the descriptive words that convey principles or dynamics of leadership. Then, using what you saw in Covey and Mitchell concerning self-leadership and leading others, marry up the concepts. That's really what we're talking about here. Marrying up what you've learned so far with what you read in these two authors, and then write a 1,000-word summary of the principles. Now here's the good news. I'm not asking you for a summary of Hybels and Kubitschek in this assignment. I'm asking you for your own thoughts. Okay? What I want of you is to comment on what you've seen so far in all of the books that you've read. In these segments from Hybels and Kubitschek, but give me your own ideas. How is this connecting with you? I want your thoughts. Okay? Now, why that is good news is because there's no right or wrong answer. You get me? There's no right or wrong answers. I want your heart. I want your thinking. And you get marks just for the fact that you're thinking, not for what you actually say.
Yay!
You get marks for the fact that I see that you're engaging with the subject and you're coming to your own conclusions. So what I've done in this PowerPoint is I've given you an example of ways in which you can draw these common denominators out of different authors who speak about leadership. So I want you to do the same. I want you to find your own common denominators, the ones that really connect with you, and write about them. Talk about them as though these are going to be the things that you're going to implement for the rest of your life. Okay? And that assignment is due on the 21st of this month. So it's a week and a day. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, guys, it's been nice talking to you. Thank you for being here, and keep reading.
We'll try.
Okay. Yes. Bye.